All right, I am here on location at the Northeast Collectible Extravaganza, and I am here with none other than one of the greatest actors of the 20th century. I'm talking about my longtime close personal friend, everybody's favorite disciplinarian, James Tolkan, a.k.a. Mr. Strickland from Back to the Future. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, Steve Clark, thanks for wishing me a happy birthday. I'm sorry you're not here to shake my hand.
Of course, we're referring to Stephen Clark, the BackToTheFuture.com executive director and longtime close personal friend of mine, who said, when you see Mr. Tolkan, wish him a happy birthday because he's outstanding.
What do you mean one-time personal friend?
Longtime personal friend.
Long time. That's better, of course. A long time. That makes sense.
We go back a long time, back 2008 in Gettysburg for the DeLorean show. We hung around, we had dinner, we drove around in DeLoreans all day.
I remember it well. It was really a beautiful summery day in Gettysburg.
Unbelievable. Now, let's talk about your career. You've been in some of the biggest motion pictures of all time, Serpico, War Games, Top Gun. But in 1985, a little film produced by Steven Spielberg and directed by Robert Zemeckis skyrocketed you into pop culture. What was it like, and how did you get cast for Mr. Strickland in Back to the Future?
Oh, well, I was doing a Broadway show. I was doing David Mamet's play, Glenn Ross on Broadway, and I got this offer from a guy named Robert Zemeckis, who I didn't know at that time, to do Back to the Future. And I've always said I'm never going to Hollywood until they send for me. And I said, okay, this is my chance. They're going to send me. I'll go out and do Back to the Future. And of course, nobody realized that it was going to be such an important picture. But it was one of those marvelous events where all the planets were aligned, and Back to the Future became this shooting star of a movie.
Has anybody ever come up to you and said, I became an educator because of Mr. Strickland?
No, never. But I've often heard that I remind them of a certain disciplinary factor in their life.
I could see that. You remind me of some of the gym teachers I had back in the day.
Well, yeah, of course. You probably needed it.
No pun intended there, Mr. Strickland. I mean, Mr. Tolkan. Now, we're talking about 1985. Back to the Future was the #1 grossing film of that year, and you followed up the next year in 1986 with Top Gun, the top grossing film in 1986. That's got to be awesome to put on an actor's resume.
I'm amazed that you remember and know all this. I almost forget.
Now, here's the big question. Was the line slacker scripted, or was it something you ad-libbed on set?
It was absolutely scripted, and it was such a brilliant stroke for Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale to use that term, and it's become a classic term in terms of everything. If somebody screws up, they're a slacker.
How many times in the last 31 years have you called people a slacker?
Well, I think they call me a slacker as much as I call them a slacker.
Well, anybody calls you a slacker are big-time slackers because you're awesome. I'm here with the one and the only James Tolkan, Back to the Future Part 1, 2, and 3. Which one was your favorite?
Part 2, the second second one. It was so nutty, so crazy, and so much fun.
I absolutely agree with you. Everybody who knows me knows Back to the Future Part 2 was my favorite of the trilogy because it was kind of 3 movies in one. You had the future, the alternate 1985, and back in, of course, into 1955 into the original movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right.
Mr. Tolkan, it's been an unbelievable pleasure. I know you have a line here, 100 miles long, of all your fans that want to get your autograph and take a picture with you. Anything to say to your fans out there at BackToTheFuture.com?
Well, I know I'm fighting them off, but I'm very glad to take a moment to have this interview with you. And give my best to Steve Clark. He's a great guy.
He's a slacker.
Well, we're all slackers.